Hello and welcome to another episode of Attention Span Labs. I'm your host, Mike DiBaggio, and in this episode, I show you some stuff. Okay, these are just pieces of terrain that I've made in the last few months. Some of them are scratch built, some of them are MDF kits, some of them are 3D prints, some of them are a mixture of all of them put together. I have shown some of these in various states of completion in the community tab, but I haven't shown any of them on camera. So I wanted to just go through. None of these are earth shattering. There's not like a revolutionary build. I don't really show the process of building stuff because I can't be arsed with all that video editing afterwards. But I do explain basically how I made stuff, the techniques I used. If you want to see exactly how to do the things step by step, then go watch a better YouTuber, frankly. Anyway, so I'm going to show you now. I'm going to start with these jungle pieces I have. Let's start with the three up front. Okay, so first thing I'll talk. These are so my primary opponent in Bolt Action Conflict 47. Jeff plays Japan, and I have basically no terrain suitable for the Pacific, for the jungle, or anything like that. It's a bit of an annoyance to me. So for Christmas, I bought him a Sarissa MDF jungle tropical Pacific stilt building, a sampan. He 3D printed a bunch of jungle style, outbuildings and stuff, or maybe like a jungle village in the Philippines, or Papua New Guinea or something like that. And then I started building these jungle pieces. I had these palm trees for quite a while, and I wanted to get to use them, and I put them on a round base. The base is this. This is had about 10 of these pieces of round pieces of cardboard. They're very thick cardboard. I believe they came in cylinders of fabric that my wife got at the fabric store, or they were yarn or something like that. But anyway, she had like 10 of them, and she said, hey, maybe you can use these for something, like 3 years ago. And I kept them, and I was just going to throw them away. I was like, no, I mean, why not? They're good terrain. I usually don't make exactly circular terrain, but I beveled them and put some cuts in. And actually, they look pretty good. Mel the Terrain Tutor made a good bit of circular terrain. He uses like old CDs and stuff like that. And if it was good enough for Mel, it's good enough for me to do as well. So these are cardboard bases, and there is cheap styrofoam cut up to make little mounds and growths to make it so it doesn't look completely flat. I covered it with not Mod Podge, Sculptamold, and then sand, and let it dry. So the first batch I did, I just covered it with white Sculptamold, and then I painted it. For the other batches, what I actually did was I mixed the paint in with the Sculptamold, and that worked a lot better. For one thing, if it chips, it's still the same color underneath. Though it did give a bit of a lighter shade, but so I covered it with just burnt umber brown, and I covered it with a mixture of parsley and oregano. Now I had this air dried out. I think this makes excellent ground cover. Actually, my friend Jeff sort of turned me on to this because, as I said, his Japanese all have jungle bases, and they use this mix. It's real cheap ground cover. You can buy huge bottles of it for $1. Of course, you should let it air out for a while, and then of course you should seal it heavily with PVA glue. Then I used some of Mel's tips from this Big Burma build. I mounted the using. They come with pegs, and I put some hot glue to mount them into the styrofoam. The palm trees, I added lichen, had a nice big rock, and these plastic. I had a clump foliage of different shades, and then a variety. Some of these, that's one aquarium plant. The rest of these are jungle plants, which I bought from the same place that I got the palm trees from. I got them on, I can link you to them on Amazon, an affiliate link. I will get a small kickback from them. It won't cost you anything extra if you like them, if you want to check them out. Jungle plants can be hard to find. This one does come from a small fake house plant. Let's see. I'm going to actually play with this camera zoom in a little bit. I think it's a very good look there. Yeah, but that was like from a cheap house plant that I actually got at Dollar Tree. You know, it came from a bunch of shoots like that. Looks pretty good in scale. Let me show you the other one. So these I would use in my terrain to mark forest heavy vegetation that can't be walked through. It could be impassable, but for the most part it would be, you know, it would, you'd only be able to walk through it. You would not be able to, you'd only be able to advance through it. You wouldn't be able to run through it. It would be difficult terrain for a lot of vehicles. Wheeled vehicles wouldn't be able to get through it. So continuing on with those, with the jungle theme, I then also created, I wanted to have something a little bit different, so I took another sheet of square MDF. This is an MDF base, cut it down, beveled it, and used the same styrofoam technique, and then mounted some tree trunk, some tree bark that I had. Move this out of the stuff out of the way to make the rock face there. Painted the same kind of ground cover, same kind of plants, except I added these bamboo plants. So this is just mainly a thicket rather than forest. I used the bigger bamboo plants, lots of different variegated vegetation with some nice different colors. I did wash, so the plants come shiny. I did wash them down. Some of them I dry brushed to take that luster off them that makes them look a bit plasticky. These I think look pretty nice. I don't know, maybe they're a little bit shiny in the light, but on the table they look great. So this offers a bit of a rock outcrop that would actually block line of sight, could offer a bit of opportunity fire, a good nice place for a sniper. And the fourth one that I've done, I'm still working on some more. This is the other piece of general terrain that I have finished, is a section of a ruined stone wall and an overgrown stone road. All these plants came from the same sets. Slightly different sort of jungle tree there. Try and get the light on all the sides so you can see. Yeah, that's pretty good. You like that? Good. All right. Same story with the vegetation. Mix it up. Do what looks right. So the road is actually a piece of plastic card that is made to look like stone. You can bend it and everything. So I cut an irregular section out and made it like a curve just for visual interest. Painted with everything else, washed it, dry brushed it the same as I did for the stone wall. The stone wall itself, now this section is made from a piece of cheap styrofoam brick, which I then Mod Podged up. You can see it's more porous, right? The rest of it though is XPS foam, which I cut out and then carved the stone pattern in with a pencil. Just pressing it down, pressing the foam in to make the. I get a good shot of this at all. Yeah, there you go. Washed it, dry brushed it. When I say wash, of course, I mean an ink wash. Dry brushed it, and I think it looks. Then flocked it. This one I used a mixture of flock and static grass instead of the oregano, just to give it a bit of a different look. But this is made specifically. This is supposed to be a section of the ruined structures on Nan Madol on Ponape, which, if you like the Cthulhu mythos, or if you like Pulp Fiction, you'll have heard of Nan Madol and Ponape before. In particular, I was going to have a Conflict 47 scenario. It involves in real life. Ponape is one of the, it's in the Caroline Islands, and the Caroline Islands were originally controlled by Germany. Japan took it off Germany during World War I. It became a mandate, and they held it throughout World War II. The Americans never attacked Ponape, but based on the 1919 novel *The Moon Pool* by Abraham Merritt, very very good pulp adventure, supernatural, lost civilization book, which certainly inspired Lovecraft and other writers of that ilk. There's all kinds of weird stuff going on there that American forces cannot just skip over, and they have to make an attack on the temple complex. So that's what this is for. I probably am not going to make a whole large temple complex, but little sections like this are good enough. So that's my jungle terrain. Let's zoom out a bit, take a look at the other pieces. All right. What do we do next? Let's look at the MDF pieces. This is look at that. Who'd have guessed? It's a radar station. It's this is a low elevation radar station from Sarissa Precision, maker of excellent and easy to assemble MDF kits. This could turn, but I glued it because I figured it's not really going to turn. This is meant to resemble British Tower, but it could be like most kind of radar in war, for many different factions. It's MDF, painted it very simple, spray painted it gray, washed it, dry brushed the edges, flocked it, covered it in sand and flocked, washed that too, put a few blue flowers and plum foliage for. And this is a nice, very nice set for an airfield or a secret research installation, or I don't know, V2 base, anything like that. Could be an objective for your commandos to take out and destroy or defend. Could be a new radar being put into action, a new type. So yeah, this was pretty cheap. I don't know, it was like, I think it was under $20. Very easy to put together. This, oops, actually want to get in the camera there, is also very cheap. When I say cheap, I mean inexpensive. I don't mean poorly made. This is another MDF kit. This one's from Kromlech. This is from their World War II line. I have a number of farm buildings from Kromlech, which I believe you've seen in the other. But this one I've actually, this was one of the later ones I finished. It's the smallest one I have, and it was also took the longest to build. This, unlike the radar set, was a pain to build. It was just a lot of pieces, a lot of tiny pieces, very fiddly. It's not poorly designed or anything. So it's a pigsty. That wasn't obvious. Comes with a bunch of troughs. I did put some. Can you see that there? Can you zoom in and see that? Yeah, you can see it's kind of glossy there. I put some Mod Podge dimensional magic. There's a bit of depth to it to make it like that there's water in there. I covered. So it's just brown paint. I washed it, and then I highlighted it. Also comes with this. Yeah, this thing, which I guess carries hay bales, right? And I covered the base with Vallejo ground texture acrylic, the European mud. And that's how I got that excellent look of a pigsty. This pig, very nice pig here, was a gift from my wife. It was let's actually put him in there so I can. Looks pretty good in there, huh? Maybe see if I can put him on the trough. Okay. So the piggy there is one of many small animals in one of my wife's toy menageries. She found them at her parents' house, brought them back, gave bigger ones to my son, had me look through ones I thought would be good fit for miniatures, and it looks like pretty good fit for 28 millimeter. Also some cows and horses. This is the only one I painted up, give him a bit of spots and stuff on the back, give him a nice flesh tone, and then some splotches and a pink wash, and then a brown wash for the dirt. Yeah, could be in a jungle farm, could be in a Northwest European area, at home, pretty much anywhere. That's a nice piece. This was like $7 from Kromlech. All right, gotta keep care of my focal plane here on the camera. I'm gonna zoom out a bit again. These are 3D printed fences. Yeah, I will link them as well in the description. They're free. I think they're on Thingiverse. I'll tell you exactly which ones. They're easy to print on a resin printer. I could fit 3 on my Elegoo Mars 2 platform, 3 at a time. Very easy to paint. Just spray paint, prime them. I did a brown. I don't think I even did a wash on these. They don't really have a lot of wood texture or anything like that. And I did a dry brush, but they're very convincing. They look good for farm fences. All right, let's take a look at some more 3D printed stuff. These graveyard sections, just as small pieces of MDF cut out irregularly, mixed up with a bit of I was going to say Mod Podge again. No, I meant Sculptamold, because a lot of times people make the graveyards and they're all very well lined up, and they're in tight rows and everything, like they're a 1950s suburb. The cemeteries we have around here aren't even like that. And I'm sure if you're going back to, if you're fighting, these are in World War II, or they're in the 1500s to the 1600s, or, the Middle Ages or whatever, they're going to be even more sort of uneven, right? They don't really grade the ground. The ground settles after they, put the monuments up and everything. These are a mix of 3D printed ones, 3D printed headstones. I'll link these as well. I got these on Thingiverse, and a few of them are this one and this toppled headstone here. They're actually from a set of cheap plastic knickknacks that they were sold at Michael's or Hobby Lobby for discount after Halloween. I got them for like half off, and they were only like $4, and I got a bunch of them. I have a bunch more, but yeah. So I wanted to lay out a bit. Besides making the ground irregular, I wanted to say in the semi-irregular pattern. There was originally a plan, but then as ground got filled up, and they started running out of space, they put a few more graves close together. Some of them fell over, and some of the markers were lost, so they put new graves on top of the old ones. But yeah, I think it's a very effective piece. I flocked them with mostly not so vibrant colors. Try and give like a not so much an arid appearance, but like a appearance of poor soil or late in the season. And the reason why I say late in the season is because I built them after these 3D printed mausoleums. Can you see them? You cannot. All right, let's zoom out a bit. Yeah, there we go. Okay, so these mausoleums come from a Kickstarter that I backed, the Gothic Graveyard. This was a successful print. This was a failed print, as you might be able to tell. But I printed enough of it that I didn't want to throw it away, so I made it like it was wrecked, and I was sort of inspired by the X-sized original first chapter of Dracula that was later turned into a short story called Dracula's Guest, where Harker, who was originally, gets in this graveyard, and this vampire countess comes out and tries to lure him in, but then she gets blasted by lightning and her mausoleum ruined, and probably was caused by Dracula, who wanted Harker for his own purposes. Yeah, you can read that online. It's free. MDF bases. These are thicker MDF, cut and beveled. I use my jigsaw for this because these were too thick for like a knife to cut. This one I didn't lay as heavily on the wash. I did a very, very much lighter dry brush to make it look like more, you know, it's in better condition. There's some cracks on it and everything, but it looks very good. And this one, I was like, hey, this one was hit by fire. And who knows, did something break in or did something break out? We don't know, right? Struck by lightning, caught fire. There's this tree branch here, which I cut off a real tree and stuck some sagebrush twigs on it to flesh it out a bit. But I wanted these to, I made these around Halloween time, so I wanted to make it look like a late fall scene. You can see there's some orange, there's some flock, orange flock that represent like the, you know, the plants are drier, they're more withered. Yeah, go for that eerie fall, everything's dying Halloween theme. All right, my most recent piece, and I just made this like 2 days ago, is this windmill. This is a western Texas kind of water pump windmill. I got this on sale at Walmart years ago as like a little decoration piece. It's made of metal. I cut the base off, mounted it on another one of those cardboard circles. Tried to give the vegetation the appearance of Texas scrubland. It's a little uneven. There's rocks sticking out, but there's high dry grass. There's low dry grass. There's clumps of brush. It is a grassland. It is, but it's not a particularly well watered one. It's not. So I looked at some source pictures of Texas scrubland. I get to so this is, and I painted this a metallic silver. I think I painted oily steel, washed it, dry brushed it. Painted that. It's supposed to be wood. These sections are actually made out of wood or canvas. By that I mean, by these sections I mean, the tail and the actual vanes of the windmill. And these are used, there would be a pole coming down the middle that runs a pump to extract water from a well for irrigation or for, human watering purposes. Or possibly, an oil well or something to pump water out of the groundwater out of the well. This is going to go with some of the farms I have. I have some Conflict 47 scenarios that take place in the southwest of the United States. But this one in particular was made to go along with a late 19th century Ascension Epoch based campaign I'm going to do, which is set just before the Martian War, but in the American Southwest during the time of the 1897 airship flap, and also, not coincidentally, the crash of what turns out to be a Martian scout ship in Aurora, Texas, which in real life supposedly happened in 1897. Which in Aurora is a town near Dallas Fort Worth, I understand, and actually the alien airship crashed into a water tower like this, and supposedly the alien and parts of its radioactive power plant were buried in the well, and everything made people sick. But that happened 50 years and some months before Roswell. Very interesting. Okay, and last but not least, this is the most expensive piece of terrain ever made, at least that I've ever made. Its cost was, and I'm only slightly exaggerating here, $82,000. What? All right, so this is made out of a storage container, right? It's upside down. I put in a bit of foam board, put some greeble pieces in there, and this lip was actually on there. It sticks out. You'd put like screws and nails and stuff like that in, and That itself costs like 10 cents. However, I paid $82,000 for it because it came with the house that this video is now being filmed in. So I bought this house, and this was one of the things left over. And after I was like, I'm going to make that into something. So yeah, most expensive piece of terrain ever made. I'm pretty happy with it. I think it looks pretty cool. It's more of a Star Wars. It's certainly a sci-fi building. I say it's more for like Star Wars Legion because it's kind of large scale. I actually used the Star Wars Legion 3D printed door on there. So this whole section wasn't here. It's just literally left open. I cut out a piece of foam board, etched some details in it, put some EVA foam. Boy, I wish you could get a better view of that there, huh? Put some plastic windows from Maelstrom's Edge. I bored the rivets in with a pencil. This door comes from a Forge World Rhino kit. 3D printed door. More just sections of their foam board just stuck on there to add a little bit of depth and texture detail. Some more on the back. And another Maelstrom's Edge piece, which is like a armored window section. This too. You see some of the other builds I've made. This is actually an old high beam light from my Subaru, burned out. And I see this as some sort of maybe this this obviously is an industrial building. It's some sort of like mining or frontier settlement. It's very utilitarian. It was probably some like a modular structure sunk down the ground. I think these are like these tube attachments are like the corner braces for it, and you sink pylons down to hold it in place because otherwise it's just like a cargo container. And this would be if it's a mining facility. This is to burn off extra gas that sort of seeps out, and maybe it pulls it out of the ground, you know, or it just burns it out of the atmosphere if it's toxic or potentially explosive. You want to burn it off before it gets into too high concentrations. And I see this is sort of like, you know, a utility building or maybe a company store. You know, the miners would come there and tell them, hey, we need... Boy, did I see that? They'd come to the window, tell the guy inside, hey, I need some sticks of dynamite, I need some thermal detonators, I need some cord, you know, stuff like that. If you ever saw Molly Maguire's movie, kind of like that. And then, you know, they get it comes out of their paycheck, and then the actual supplies are delivered through here. Or it could be the paymaster's place where you actually come at the end of the week to collect your hard currency pay. I added in with some cardstock things for detail greebles. This is a Ramagon piece. Ramagon was like some kind of like a construction system. I got some at I never had it as a kid, but I got it at a thrift store. This is a 3D printed air conditioner piece. I just put pieces on that felt right. These are also from Maelstrom's Edge with toothpicks. I think this is sort of like an electrical grid or something. Yeah, it could be a lot of things. It could be a convenience store in a like a bad high crime area, right? You don't really go in. You walk up to it because they get robbed so often. This is their the 7-Eleven equivalent, you know, future 7-Eleven cyberpunk equivalent of the armored plexiglass. You know, and you get your Slurpee through the big thing there. Yeah, it could be a lot of things. But in addition to costing $80,000, this also right here. That piece that's tacked on there is a silly singing straw that I bought a bunch for my son, and I stole one of them. So this is worth the $80,000 that it cost me, along with the house that I live in, because it also plays music. Are you ready? Very impressive, right? Yeah, that's the most expensive piece of terrain in the world. Let me know what you think about it. Let me know if you actually have a more expensive piece of terrain. because there's some junk you bought with the house. All right, guys. Thanks for watching. Hope you have a happy new year. Keep crafting, keep wargaming, and certainly if you like this video, give me a thumbs up. Subscribe if you haven't. I do appreciate all our growing subscriber base, and I always like comments, even from people who hate me. It's always fun to have the Games Workshop fanboys complaining, or the anti-Christian zealots complaining, or the SJWs or whoever they are. But yeah, and every comment you leave helps me in the algorithm. So definitely leave your hate and all, as well as your love. I would like to hear from you if you have any questions about this. I will try and link all the materials I bought, what the kits were, whether the palm trees and plants, and also I'll link where the 3D printed STLs come from. I'll answer any questions you have, especially if you subscribe and leave some comments in our community section. But thank you very much for watching. And for that one guy, I have a special message for you. Jesus Christ lives and reigns forever.